And now for how Eratosthenes, the librarian of Alexandria, measured the world approximately 250 years BC. Okay, while perusing various scrolls in the library of Alexandria, he found an interesting letter from Syene, a small town in southern Egypt. Let's see, where are we? Here is Egypt. He was up in Alexandria. Syene is now called Aswan, way down at the very tip of Egypt. Anyway, the letter said that on the longest day of the year, June 21st, the sun was directly overhead. In fact, it said, if you looked deep into an uncovered well, you could see the reflection of the sun. The sun was so overhead that the sun was going straight down into a deep well, reflecting off the water on the bottom and shining straight back up. You generally can't see that. Incidentally, the sun is directly overhead different parts of the world at different times. It's not always over the equator. In the summertime, our summertime, it gets as far north as the Tropic of Cancer. This is the furthest point north that the sun is directly overhead. And this happens on June 21st. On December 21st, the longest night of the year, as what we say, the sun is as far south as it ever gets. It's directly overhead Paraguay. And we are way in the shadow over there. Anyway, so if you see, the Tropic of Cancer just cuts through southern Egypt, just cuts through Aswan. That's why this sort of thing was happening. Anyway, he didn't know that necessarily. But Eratosthenes thought this sounded cool, so the next June 21st, he watched the shadow of a pillar in his yard. Now, if the sun was going to be directly overhead, he figured, the shadow of the pillar would go away and all the sides of the pillar would be equally illuminated. Wouldn't that be cool? However, it didn't happen. He looked at his shadow. As high noon approached, the shadow of his pillar got shorter and shorter and shorter, but then it started getting longer again. The sun got close to straight up and down, and then started going down again. So what he did was he marked the shadow at its shortest point and thought about this. Now, rather than be discouraged by this, Eratosthenes was excited. He realized that the angle of his pillar shadow, this angle right here, would enable him to measure the world without ever having to leave town. What did he do? He knew that the world was round. A lot of people think that Christopher Columbus discovered that the world was round. No. Christopher Columbus was just made a miscalculation about the size of the Earth. He thought the Earth was much smaller than it actually was. He thought that it was a short distance from Europe to India. In fact, if you wanted to sail from Europe to India, you would have to sail all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, all the way across the continental United States, assuming that you didn't know that it was there, and then all the way across the Pacific Ocean, which is about as big as the two of those combined, if I'm not mistaken. Really, really far. No ship could make a journey that far. A lot of people tried telling Christopher Columbus this, because all the way back in 250 BC, they knew how big the Earth was. Why did they know that the Earth was round? Well, first of all, when a ship approaches a mountainous island, you see the very, very tip of the mountain first. For instance, if the ship, it's as if you're going around a sphere. Because of the curvature of the Earth, you can kind of see just the tip of the mountain. You just see the little tip of the mountain peeking up. And then as you get a little bit closer, you can see more of the mountain. And then as you get really close, you can see the whole mountain. So it looks like the mountain is rising up out of the sea. If the world was completely flat, this wouldn't happen. You would see the whole mountain maybe faint, but it would be just as tall. Anyway, another argument was, during a lunar eclipse, it was pretty clear that the sun is casting the Earth's shadow upon the moon. And the Earth's shadow, there's the moon, there's the Earth's shadow. The Earth's shadow is always curved. Now, what sort of object looks curved and rounded from every possible direction? A sphere. Anyway, we will get into how he calculated it in the next video.